Darian, good to see you. Take us back to Friday night. Mr. Romance, Darian Durant for Valentine's Day. What did you and the wife get up to?
Well, I would have loved to just, have some alone time with the wife, but being that I have three little girls as well, that makes them included with the Valentine's Day plans as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
we just decided to just go to the Cheesecake Factory. It's one of my favorite restaurants and hers as well, and it's great for the kids. They have a great kids menu, great cheesecake, and they're
I
all the
know.
loves of my life. So man, it was just a great night to spend with my girls, and I had a blast.
Can I say with the Cheesecake Factory, I don't even get the cheesecake. I get the carrot cake because it is out of this world.
Yes, it is. It is. I've pretty much tried everything on the menu, and it's all amazing.
Nice. Greg and I were talking before we brought you on because we had Mace on and we were talking about this, but I wanted to go back to 2014 when he was a player because there was that decade where the Stamps were dominant. They didn't necessarily win a lot of Grey Cups, but they had some really good teams. In 2014, they did end up going on to win the Grey Cup after the 2013 win with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and you guys were rolling. Take us back to that Banjo Bowl, that Winnipeg game, where basically not only did the season change, your career change, basically the trajectory of the franchise changed that day on one play.
Yeah, it's crazy. I hate to even think about it because, we were rolling and, we were thinking back to back. We just gotten, dressed back from the NFL and we were trying to integrate him back into the offense. And even without him, we had that run game going. You know, I was being efficient. So, man, it just hurts my heart to even think about it because we really, really were on pace to, repeat that year. And I really think that we'd be looking at a Hall of Fame type team if we were able to pull that off.
You're not wrong. I say that play changed the trajectory of this franchise from the very get go. Just unfortunately, Clark didn't hear the whistle went, and Clark didn't hear, or the Bombers didn't hear, and just one of those freak incidents. And just what a team that was.
Yeah, we were loaded, man. We just lost Sheets to the NFL, but we brought in Anthony Allen. He did a great job of replacing Corey that year. And, it's just one of those situations when you're backed up and, the crowd is going crazy. It's hard to hear. Winnipeg, it's a loud stadium, especially in that part of the end zone. And it's just an unfortunate situation for it to happen on a dead ball when the play is not even supposed to go down that way, to get injured that way. And, even though we made the playoffs, it didn't look good. And then coming into that next season, we all know what happened in game one. So, yeah, after that play, everything pretty much went downhill for my career and as well as, all my teammates and everybody who was a core part of, that run we had.
How do you get over something like that? Or do you? Like, let's just in the 2014 season, like, how do you handle the fact that you can't play anymore and you can't help your teammates?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you always try to adopt a mentality that everything happens for a reason, but you always find yourself asking why. Why in this situation? Why when you put in so much work, you just reach the top of the mountain and reaching a Grey Cup the previous year. Very few teams can come back and are able to sustain success and have that same type of success. And we were on path to do that. So I guess the main question I would just ask is why, but I try to, keep my faith strong and keep the mindset that everything happens for a reason. And you know what? I remember when I was a kid, I was watching the Miami Dolphins and I watched Dan Marino tear his Achilles. And, it was just on an innocent play, right? So and I just always remember that, like, you just can't control it. You just never know when something can happen. And I guess at that time, it was just my time.
So obviously, like you alluded to it, you had the injury the following season, game one. I remember the hush over Mosaic when it happened. Like, at what point, as an athlete, and you said you leaned on your faith, but at what point do you go, is this all, or there's nothing holding me back anymore? Like, where do you go with that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're 34 and it's happening, and you know that you're pretty much reaching an age where guys don't play past that age, and so I was definitely questioning myself and questioning if I wanted to go through the rehab that comes with an Achilles. Do you want to put your body through that? Do you want to continue to go through training camps? And we had just released the core part of our team. Dress was no longer there. Getz had gone. A lot of my friends and the guys that I came in with were no longer there. So I really had to ask myself and motivate myself if I really wanted to put in the work to continue. And, I did have the motivation. I love the game. So I decided to continue. But looking back, I probably should have just, rode off into the sunset, so to speak, because I really didn't have a lot left after that.
Well, it's easy to say now with some perspective, 9-10 years later, to be like, oh, I think we all would love to go back and redo a few things. But I think one of the reasons why you're a cult hero to this fan base, and you always will be, is because you got the heart of a champion. And listen, if you don't put that 2013 team on your back and use those legs and will us to that Grey Cup and that victory where Mike McCullough sneaks into that picture that will forever be emblazoned and one of the best stories of all time. Here it comes. Just wait. I think it's coming.
Here he comes.
Here he is. Oh man, and there's that. Now it's funny that changes the trajectory of a franchise. And I texted you this morning. It's -50 with the wind chill, and you're like, yeah, you probably don't miss that. But we haven't
Not at all.
We haven't tasted success since then, and. It's not from lack of trying. No more passionate fans in the CFL. And we've talked, you like what the Riders have done in this offseason quietly. If Ed Hervey is the guy at the club getting bottle service, J.O. and the other guys are over here in the corner, maybe just sipping on a nice drink quietly. Yeah. No fans, no fanfare, just doing the little things. When we chatted last week, you said you were good and we needed to, from a Darian Durant point of view, the holes got filled. They may not be sexy, but they're the important things. And you know what? I think a lot of us, I felt better after that conversation going, all right, if Darian says we're good, we're good. And then yesterday we pick up, what's his name? Kerfala Exume, who everybody says is a special team demon, who is Canadian, drafted in 2019, won 2 Grey Cups with the Bombers and the Argos. So more depth and more Canadian depth. Let's talk about the Canadians and the Americans in the dressing room, because you know what's going on. Canada, America, and hockey and the national anthems. But you said there's this, that's been age old, Canada, America in the dressing room, even for you guys as football players?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just the competitive nature of guys. And, we're just, just BSing around the locker room and always comparing different sports, whether it's bowling, whether it's baseball, you name it. Some of the best Canadian athletes are in these CFL locker rooms, right? So they feel like they're able to compete at anything. So there's always this ongoing competition, even in hockey, because a lot of us guys in the U.S., from the U.S., we're stubborn, right? We feel like it doesn't matter the sport. We can adjust. We can adapt. It's easy for us. So we think we can even go out there and ice skate, right? So Getz has to come and say, look, you guys are absolutely crazy. If you think you can go out there and you think you can maneuver on skates and be able to control the puck. And, he's just going through all these difficulties. And, of course, our defensive backs, they feel like they're the best athletes on the field, right? They can just do anything. So they're just arguing and clashing with Getz and Robbie and all these guys who have played hockey. when they were younger, they're just going back and forth. So this so-called rivalry, so to speak, it doesn't just happen on the ice. You know, it goes on in CFL locker rooms every day, and it's just the nature of competition.
But that's part of being a team. You're a brotherhood. You fight, you joke around. It makes the team stronger. Like, did you guys like bowl or darts or pool or ping pong? What you guys do?
Absolutely. You name it. It was bowling, cards. We would play hearts on every road game. We would, we would throw darts. We would, you name it. Any board games, Settlers of Catan, Monopoly, whatever it is. Anything to keep that competitive nature going. Look, we were out of work at 1:30, 2 o'clock every single day, and we're in Regina, right? So there's not much to do. So, we continued the competitive games and everything right after practice. We were always together, and that's the beauty of it.
Hey, Curtis, can you play the Geno Lewis clip for Darian? Because this is nuts, and I'm not sure if you've heard this yet, but we'll play it for you, and then we want to get your reaction. This left us scratching our heads after we had Geno on the show on Friday.
I never talked to Ed. I've never talked to Ed to this day since free agency. So when he came out with the article and was saying everything he was saying, this is what I have to get people to understand. Like, I'm a superstar in this league. Think about it. If this was the NFL and you're trying to talk to Jamar Chase or something like this and you don't have a conversation with him, that's not smart. For me, the thing is, it wasn't even about the money. I had no problem taking a pay cut this year, but it's just about talking and communicating. I want people to get their money up here in the CFL because we don't play up here long. A lot of us got to take our money back to the States. And from somebody else who's played in the league and played my position, who's also American, I would think you would want them to reach their full potential that they possibly can on the field, off the field, and getting money-wise. But personally, I respect it. Just call me, let me know that that's going to go in another direction, and that's cool. That's cool, but don't try to degrade me. You're not going to pay me this like I'm not worth it. I'm still worth that money. But I got it 2 years in a row. I never took a pay cut. My game and my stats and everything that I did through them 2 years, I prevailed. It's hard for a receiver to get that type of money and not get a pay cut. For me, man, I'm happy, and I thank God for giving me that opportunity, and I was able to, make it happen.
Are you shocked that Ed Hervey never even gave him a courtesy call to be like, hey, man, we're moving on?
Yeah, that's shocking, especially, I'm 50-50 with what Geno was saying there. I agree that he's a top player in this league, and, just out of respect, give him a call, let him know that you're not interested in bringing him back, and, for him to go and pursue opportunities around the league. So, I'm with him on that. It did come across a little cocky, but that's just Geno. If you've been around Geno, he's, you have to be that way as a receiver. You have to be full of yourself. You have to be full of confidence, and you have to, hold yourself, to the highest level of competitiveness. So me knowing him personally, it doesn't really shock me. But if you don't really know him, then it could come across very harsh.
With free agency and whether a GM calls you or not, but you as the leader of the Riders, did they call you when they were thinking about bringing guys in? Did they get your input, especially for receivers or offensive linemen?
Not necessarily when they were bringing guys in. I think that, they wouldn't necessarily ask me what I think about a move. They would be like, once he signed, how could he help us? How could, I remember Coach Chamberlain coming up to me, asking me about Greg Carr and, how could we use Greg Carr? What did we think his strengths were? How could we find ways to get him the ball? So, but that's just me being the quarterback. That's just, coaches and GMs bringing in guys who they know you're going to work with directly, and they want to, see how you feel about these certain players. But in this case, I understand Ed's perspective as well. Ed feels like, look, you're a high-paid wide receiver. We're not going to bring you back at that price. I'm pretty sure Ed spoke to his agent, and maybe not to Geno directly, but he got word from his agent that Geno wasn't interested in taking a pay cut or playing for a certain number that Ed had in his mind that the top receiver should make. So, it's a touchy situation. I think Geno's taking it a little too personally. This is just business, man. This is just how it goes. And you can't worry about the personal interactions there. because it's all about business. Ed is trying to build his team. I'm sure if you saw Ed, because, when Ed was a GM, and if I saw him, at a game against Edmonton, he really wouldn't say much. But if I saw him out and about throughout the city or something like that, he will come up to you and speak. So, that's just how business goes. And that's just how Ed, conducts himself. So, I don't think it's a big deal at all.
Well, also too, and you mentioned it, you have to be confident, but ego comes into play. And, if you aren't part of the plans anymore, let's say that there's a group chat text thread going on and you find out you're not part of it, you may get upset. I'm not saying that this happens on a sports talk show that we're all on right now, but I guess it does. Somebody could take it really the wrong way, but they're not going to. We'll just eventually move on. It's funny, Darian, last week, when the Philadelphia Eagles had the Super Bowl parade, the general manager, Howie Roseman, got hit in the forehead with a full beer. But Howie didn't drop. In true Philly fashion, and I think we've got the picture of the video, he continued on with like a half moon blood ring on his forehead from the damage that was inflicted. Does he just embrace everything about Philly scumbag fans and being tough, and that's exactly what it is to be an Eagle?
Exactly. That's just the perfect example of just the hard-nosed, fight until you have nothing left in you, Rocky Balboa style, city of Philadelphia. That's how they are. I think anyone, it doesn't matter where you're from, anyone who goes to that city and plays sports in that city, you're just going to embrace the culture, the toughness, everything that comes with being a part of Philadelphia. So that's just a prime example of, you can't show any weakness at that point. I mean, you already been spotted across the head. So what are you going to do? There it is. So, what are you going to do?
Right there.
You can't cry. You can't do anything. You just have to eat it and be tough about it. And, you're in the middle of a parade at that point. So you can't back down at that point.
Look at that. Does that not look painful? Now, was there at any point in Rider Nation?
Philly right there, though.
I know. But speaking of crazed fans, we come probably a close second or third. At any point in your career in the victory celebrations, was there ever any almost violence with liquor involved with you in the Saskatchewan Roughriders? Man,
see, the difference is it's just so freaking cold at our parades and our celebrations. So, we're not looking forward to catching a beer coming full speed, especially you have on, gloves, you can't catch, your grip is not there. So it's just a different atmosphere. Now, the fans, they're on another level now. They were, excited and drinking and just acting all out of sorts. But for us as players, man, we're trying to stay warm, man. It's super cold.
The Grey Cup parade, you guys had toques on because it was so cold.
Yeah, I remember that. Look at that. It's just freezing, man. Yeah.
Look at that. Look at Getzlaff. He's got a Canada Goose jacket on. Look at that's money.
No way I could catch a beer with those mitts.
Greg, should we put Darian on the spot as we wrap up here and get us to give him a prediction for tomorrow night's hockey game, Canada and the U.S., and who wins?
Don't do me like that, man. Look, when it comes to
Plead
hockey,
the fifth, Darian.
when it comes to hockey, I understand who's the superior. I understand that Canada, they're just better, right? So I understand that. I'm hoping that we win, being an American, but I am, there's no need to be naive about it. Canada plays the best hockey in the world, and there's a reason for that.
Nice. Look at that. Connor McDavid. That's a nice goal. That's a nice goal.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. And if anything, apparently the numbers that it drew in the States, because hockey's not the biggest draw on TV, but it brought some eyeballs to the game where they're trying to grow it. And apparently it crushed the NBA All-Star stuff that was on. Yeah. And I know that there's some people going like that's big. Like it's no one's ever going to come after the NFL, but in all of these other areas, if they can do that. All right, my friend, that's Double Talk with Darian Durant. We'll catch up with you. I think next week we go back to Mondays. Barney's back. It'll be a normal week. We're going to be on the right time zone, all of that kind of stuff. Apparently somebody on the show got times confused. Whatever. Someone would have texted me. I would have known better. All right. All right.